Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Zevachim Daf Nun Tes. We begin on Nun Chesem Beis, 2 lines off the bottom of the Amud. So yesterday we discussed the exact location of the Mizbeach. Where was it located? Within the Azara. So you're walking into the Azara from the east, facing west, facing the Heichal, Kodesh HaKadoshim. To your right is Tzafon, north. To your left is Darim, south. So let's just call it right and left. Okay, so where was the Mizbeach situated? Let's picture an imaginary, virtual line cutting across east to west, right in the middle of the Azara. You have to the right, which is Tzafon, to the left, which is Darim. Where was Mizbeach? Was it to the right of that divider in Tzafon? Was it to the left of that divider in Darim? Was it smack in the middle? Half and half. So yesterday, we discussed several options. In fact, the Gemara told us that according to Rabbi Yossi, right, there was that Mishnah, Mesechas Tamid, and it was going like Rabbi Yossi, who said Mizbeach was to the right, completely to the right of that divider. Rav Shrabi Amar, he says, hold it, not necessarily so. Maybe that Mishnah is going like Rabbi Yossi Galili, who was also known to hold that position. That in fact the Mizbeach was completely to the right, was completely B'tzafon. So actually, we shift to a little bit of a different discussion. Yesterday we discussed the location of the fire placed on the Mizbeach, opposite the, facing the entry to the Heichel, etc. Today we're going to discuss the placement of the kiyar, that water tank, which the Kohanim would use to wash their hands and feet prior to serving the Beis HaMikdash. Where exactly was it located? And based on that discussion, we will discover where the Mizbeach was located. It was configured to the right of that divider. And in fact, the kiyar could not be between the Mizbeach and the Heichel. Rather, it was a bit offset to the left of that Mizbeach, right over, right on the left of that virtual divider, running across the halfway point of the Azara. So the Mizbeach was to the right of that dividing line. The kiyar was over to the left. Let's see. And this will, in fact, confirm that Rabbi Yossi Galili, who will be presenting this discussion, presenting this configuration, hold that in fact the Mizbeach was in Tzafon. Hamani, that Mishnah, which indicated that Mizbeach was B'tzafon, Rabbi Yossi Galili, it's going like that, Shita, Desanya, Rabbi Yossi Galili. We take a look at the Psukim. Actually, this is in the Midbar regarding the Mishkan, but the same would apply, similar factors would apply in the Beis HaMikdash itself. If we take a look at the pasuk of Nasat as Akir, place the kiyar where? Bein Oyel Moed, and the pasuk continues. So between the Oyel Moed, which is the Heichal Kodesh HaKadoshim structure, Ubein HaMizbeach, between that and the Mizbeach. Right? The pasuk continues, right? So that's the first indicator of location, and then we have. Because of Echad Omer, the Bach adds those words. We have another pasuk. Where did he actually place the kiyar? Where did he place the Mizbeach? Ves Mizbach ha'oilo sam Pesach Mishkan oil moed. No, the Mizbeach was placed. This is the external Mizbeach in the Midbar, and would apply to the Mizbeach in the Azor as well. It was meant to be Pesach Mishkan oil moed, facing the door, the entry to the Heichel. So we learn that in fact the Mizbeach was B'Pesach Oyel Moed, was facing the entry to the Oyel Moed, without any obstruction, without anything in between, no kiyar in the way. Direct view to the Pesach Oyel Moed. V'lo kiyar B'Pesach Oyel Moed. The kiyar could not be placed in front of that doorway, which would create an obstruction between the Mizbeach and the Pesach. So on the one hand, we say the kiyar was between the Mizbeach and the Oyel Moed, but not opposite the doorway, not blocking that connection between Mizbeach and Pesach Oyel Moed. So where would he put the kiyar? On the one hand, there was bein ulam v'lamizbeach, between the ulam, which was the entry to the heichal, between the structure of the ulam heichal and the mizbeach, but not actually in between. It was offset off to the left side of the virtual divider running down the middle of the azara. So it was to the south, to the left. Kimo klap hadar, a bit pulled over to the darim, and it was situated opposite the space which was between the mizbeach and the heichel and the ulam. Okay, so in terms of just configuring it, if we walk into the azara from the east, we're going to actually conclude that according to Rabbi Yisrael Glili, the mizbeach had to have been to the right. Okay, when we speak about right and left, again, it's to the right and left of that divider running down the middle of the azara, east-west. To the right is tzavon, to the left is darim. Mizbeach was hugging the right side of that virtual line, and since the mizbeach had to face directly, without any obstruction, the heichal doorway, the kiyar had to be pushed over to the left of that divider, so it wouldn't get in between the mizbeach and the heichal and the pesach hayil mayed. But it was still somewhat between you can say it was somewhat between the heichal structure and the mizbeach, although it wasn't directly between, but it was near. The space that was between was as close as you can get, basically, without getting getting in the way. Okay, so again, this would only work if Rabbi Yisrael Glili holds that the mizbeach was completely to the right, and then the kiyar had to be pushed to the left. And we're going to get to there. Okay, it's going to be sort of a build-up, but that's going to be the ultimate conclusion. How do we get to there? So let's explore the options. Okay, the Gemara hasn't yet concluded that in fact the mizbeach was situated at this point. So now we're sort of going to go through the steps till we get to that clarity. Ma'ikasara. So what does Rabbi Yisrael Glili hold in terms of mizbeach location? Okay, we have three options. Totally to the left, totally to the right, or somewhere in the middle. Ikasavar, and the only option that will work, that will substantiate, the way he described it, just now, would only work if the mizbeach was in fact to the right. Let's see. Ikasavar kula mizbeach b'darim koi. If he holds that the mizbeach is completely to the left, why do we have to go push the kiyar away, off to the side? Which of course is not ideal, right? Ideally, it sounds from the pasuk that it's meant to be between the mizbeach and the heichal structure. In fact, the mizbeach was to the left. What's the issue with the kiyar? You can accommodate everybody's needs without issue. Sure, I understand that the mizbeach, or some part of it, has to be facing the heichal's doorway. Okay, you have it, because the right side of that mizbeach, the first 5 amma, is facing the entry to the heichal, which was 10 ammas wide. 5 of it was on the left side of that divider, which coincides with the 5 ammas on the right of the mizbeach, and they just put the kiyar to the left of that, between the mizbeach and the wall of the heichal to the left of that doorway. So you got everything covered. You have the mizbeach pesach oil moed, and you have the kiyar between the mizbeach and the oil moed, between the mizbeach and the heichal structure. Perfect. If the mizbeach was situated to the left, place the kiyar between the mizbeach and the darim side of the heichal wall, meaning the wall of the heichal to the left of his entry, of his doorway, which is bein ulam lamizbeach, which is actually between the mizbeach and the entry to the ulam. Perfect. Now, as we learned yesterday, according to some opinions, the ulam, which was the entry to the heichal, had the same status as the heichal. So the mizbeach had to face the entry to the ulam as it did the entry to the hechel without any obstruction, without any blockages. So you couldn't put the kir where we had just suggested. Okay, so move it over a bit more to the left. Get it out of the entry area. And you're still good. Okay, put the kir between the ulam wall, meaning the wall of the ulam to the left of the ulam entry, between there and the mizbeach. So again, you have everything covered. You accommodated everybody's needs. The mizbeach is open to the entries, and the kir is between the mizbeach and the ulam structure. So, the fact that we don't allow this, apparently the mizbeach is not situated there. So what's the next option that we can consider? Okay, so perhaps the mizbeach was half and half to the right, half to the left. But still, what's the issue? Why do you have to chase the kir away? Likewise over here, we can reconcile everything. We have the part of the mizbeach open to the entry to the hechel without any obstruction, and just put the kir to the left of the of that spot. So between the mizbeach and the hechel wall to the left of the hechel entry. So you got it all covered. You got the mizbeach facing the entry to the hechel without any blockages, and you have the kir between the mizbeach and the hechel wall. Between the mizbeach and the ulam entry. Okay, but let's say we hold that the ulam and the hechel are one entity, so you can't have anything blocking between the mizbeach and the ulam entry. Okay, so push the kir a bit more to the left, between the mizbeach and the ulam wall, to the left of the entry. Place the kir between the ulam and the mizbeach, between ulam and the mizbeach, to the left of the ulam entry. Okay, so now you have the mizbeach openly facing all the entries without any obstructions, and you have the kir between the mizbeach and the ulam wall to the left of that entry, towards the darim. So apparently, right? The reason why all this doesn't work is because the mizbeach is still in the wrong location. The mizbeach is really meant to be on the right of that boundary. Apparently, Rabbi Yisrael holds that the mizbeach was completely to the right, and therefore, kinami mukmasla mikoisel hechel v'letzafin havale ben ulam mizbeach. So we're working with the assumption that the ulam and the hechel are one entity, so that has to be clear. The mizbeach has to be free and open to the entry to the hechel, entry to the ulam. You can't have anything in between, and therefore you can't put the kir between the mizbeach and the wall of the hechel to the right of the hechel entry, because it's still in front of the ulam entry. But what about pushing it over even more to the right, the kir? Why can't you push the kir a bit more to the right, between the mizbeach and the ulam wall to the right of the ulam entry? So now you accommodated everybody's needs. The mizbeach is totally open, unobstructed, facing the entries, and the kir is a bit to the right of that, between the ulam structure, between oil mayed, doesn't need to be pesach, oil mayed and the mizbeach. Now Rashi has a bit of a different girsa here in the Gemara, but it's pretty much the meaning is the same. We're exploring all the various options and going one by one, and this would seem like a good option right now. So why do you have to push the kir all the way to the left of that halfway line? The pasuk in describing the north side of the Azara, instead of calling it Safain nah, the extra hay is telling you Sheid Safain Panay Mikalim. The north side of the Azara has to be free of any furniture, any kalim, and the kir was a kli. So the only place that it could belong is to the left of that halfway line. This way the Mizbeach is facing the entries unobstructed, and the Kiyar is sort of between the Heichal Ulam structure and the Mizbeach, not directly between, a little bit offset to the side. It's as close as you can get. It's close to the space of Ulam Mizbeach. And again, this is only because the Mizbeach was situated in Safin, which wouldn't allow for the Kiyar to be placed there. It has to be free and clear of anything. It's the only way you can get the Kiyar in there is put it to the left of that divider. Okay, so that pretty much concludes our discussion, and confirmed that Rabbi Glili was of the opinion that the Mizbeach was actually in Safin. Now there is a dissenting view. Mantana de Palagale, Rabbi Glili, who disagrees? Who places the Mizbeach all the way to the left instead of to the right? Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov, the son of Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov, Omer. He learns that the word Safaina tells you clear of anything, even structure, even the Mizbeach couldn't be there. Rather, it had to be totally to the left. She hates Safain Panoi Miklum, had to be clear of anything, and that necessitated to be placed in the Mizbeach to the left of the divider and Durin. Okay, so in conclusion, we have three opinions in terms of Mizbeach location. Either completely in Durin, completely in Safain, or as we had yesterday, right on the straddling the line, half on this side, half on that side. Continues the Gemara with a totally different topic, of course, Mizbeach related. Amar Rav Mizbeach shenifkam. Mizbeach is meant to be complete, undamaged. What if we got chipped? Kola kochem shenishchatu sham psulim. You shech the korban at that time, it's possible. How do we know? Really, it was a pasuk and we forgot. I can't recall the pasuk. Umikra hayibiyadin. We had a pasuk on file, v'shachnu, and we forgot the pasuk. Even the huge chacham like Rav. We're human. Gives us all encouragement. People forget. I'll take it personally. So in any case, Yadi Allah, we didn't have the confirmed source. Okay, so Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana went to Eretz Yisrael. He encountered Ashkei Reb Shimon, the son of Rebbe, Shimon Rebbe, the Ka'amam Shimon Bishmal B'Yesi. He quoted Rabbi Shmuel B'Yesi, the halacha and the source. Okay, so he discovered the source for this halacha, that you need a complete, unblemished, undamaged Mizbeach. How do we know that a blemished, damaged Mizbeach wouldn't work? One shechts a carbon during that period, it's possible. The pasuk says, "V'dachta olav es oiloi secha v'eshlamecha." It sounds like you do the shchita on the Mizbeach. I mean, it's not really ideal, right? The pasuk elsewhere says al yerech on the side, right, on the floor. You have to do the shchita on the Mizbeach itself. So although we learned yesterday that it works, but to say that you have to do it there. So what then is the pasuk telling us? Elo, the pasuk is saying olav means with it. You have to have an active mizbeach. You have to have a complete mizbeach, unblemished, undamaged. Olav means intact, the way it's meant to be. Elo kushu shalem, when it's complete, undamaged. V'lo kushu chaser, as opposed to damaged. So Rav Kahana heard this quote being, the source being quoted. And he said, "Oh, this is the forgotten pasuk. Amar hainu kra." We discovered the pasuk the Ishtamal Rav that Rav had overlooked. Okay, so according to Rav, if you have an animal designated as a korban, and you do the shchita and discover that the mizbech had been damaged at that time, the korban is possible. But suppose you waited with this designee, with this korban, until they fixed the mizbech and you shechted it now. It's okay. Because there was a moment in time that the korban couldn't be processed. Mizbech had been deactivated. It doesn't do anything to the korban. If you start the akrava, you do the shchita while you have no mizbech to work with, then the korban becomes possible. But if you wait, it's okay. Rabbi Yechon Amar, he disagrees. He takes it a step further. Rabbi Yechon Amar, echad zev psulim. whether you did the shechita while the mizbeach was pagum, or even if you waited with this carbon, it also becomes pasul. Why? What's the machlekes about? My pligi. Rab savar balachayim ein nidachem. Rab says, look, you shechted the animal while the mizbeach was damaged. Okay, it becomes pasul because there's no possibility of doing that krov at that time. But if it's still alive and you wait it out, and you only do the shechita once the repair had been executed, you're okay. Balachayim, a live animal, doesn't become rejected. Rabbi Yechon Amar, balachayim nidachem. He says even a live animal, once it had been designated to be used as a carbon, and comes a moment in time that you can't bring it as a carbon, it sort of falls off the track. It becomes rejected permanently. Meisvei, here comes a kasha on Rav, who says a balachayim cannot get rejected. Permanently rejected. So the Brisa reads like this: all the carbon animals which had been designated as karbonis before the mizbeach had been built. Okay, so before they made the mishkan or the beis, right? And then then you have the mizbeach built and ready to go. Pesulin, you can't use those karbonis. Ask the Gemara. First of all, let's just clarify what the Brisa means. Nivne. It becomes pasul after the mizbeach is built. It becomes pasul because there was no mizbeach when the carbon had been designated. Now, according to all shittas, there's no opinion, at least not over here, not Rav or Rabbi Yechon, that would consider that to be a dachui, a rejected carbon. Because here, it wasn't like you had potential to bring it. You had the ability to bring it, and then something happened to the mizbeach, and then whether the animal was alive or not, it's a different story, but there was already the ability to bring it. It was mizbeach, and then it got ruined, and then it got rebuilt or fixed. Here, it was never built to begin with. The carbon hadn't really entered. The animal hadn't really been introduced to the hakrava world yet. Do you mean to say that you could just do an initial rejection? Rejection means I'm in, and then I got kicked out. But he was never in. There was no mizbeach to speak of. That doesn't seem to be an issue in our Gemara. Well, how could you say it's possible? Ella, rather, the Brisa means like this: there was a mizbeach, but then the mizbeach got damaged and destroyed during the churban, during Nebuchadnezzar's, churban. So what happened was the animal had been designated during the first Beis Hamikdash's, reign. It wasn't yet offered as a carbon. By the time the churban came, no possibility to bring it. Then we waited it out 70 years until the second Beis Hamikdash was rebuilt. We have a new mizbeach. What's the status of that carbon? Brisa seems to say it's possible. El Achalei Neras HaMizbeach. You had the carbon before the mizbeach had been destroyed by the Goyim. Hold it. Neras, it was destroyed during the churban. And now you're 70 years later. How could you even entertain bringing this carbon? It's old. As old as the hills. It's possible for a carbon. You can't bring an old animal as a carbon. Nothing to speak of here. Or rather, the correct version of the Brisa must be like this. Actually, nivkam mizbeach. V'achakach nivkam mizbeach. He had set aside an animal as an oila before the mizbeach became nivkam, damaged. And then a meteoroid came and hit it, and it damaged the mizbeach. Even if it's now rebuilt, repaired, and fixed, the animal is pasul. Because even a Baal Chai, a live animal, can become rejected. That's a Kasha Rav who says you can't. Who says the live animal is unaffected by change of status. Well, it says the more below to Ritzikum says, weren't you compelled to fix up, to modify, to revise the wording in the Brisa, right? As we just went through. So once you're fixing it, fix it as follows. Ema. The Brisa will read like this. Shenishchat. We're not speaking about a live animal. That wouldn't become nidcha. Rather, it was shechted while the mizbeach had been damaged. And then we say it's dachi. Then we say it's pasul as per Rav's halach. Ask the Gemara, what's the problem with an animal that was shechted when the mizbeach had been blemished? Because you have no possibility of offering it. You have no mizbeach for hakrava. You don't need a mizbeach. V'amar Rav Gidol Marav. Here we have a quote from Rav himself. Mizbeach shenekar. He's speaking about the mizbeach and the heichel, which somehow went missing. Okay, it was taken away. What happens to the kteris on that day? No problem. Aktirin kteris b'mkayim. You can offer the incense, burn it on the floor of the former mizbeach, and we assume the same with the external mizbeach. You can offer karbanos on the malkayim of the mizbeach. So it's as if the mizbeach was there, is still there. So why does Rav say all the karbanos become puzzle? Just do it in the same place. Well, it says the Gemara, Kedamar Rav, as Rav tells us in a minute, we'll see. Even Rabbi says that the floor is okay for akrava, but that's only for aktara of a murim. But blood, you have to have a mizbeach. Achanami here as well. Rav would agree that zrika of dam is strictly on a mizbeach, and if there's no proper active mizbeach, the karbanos become, deactivated and pasul. My Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, so we speak about Rabbi Yehuda allowing the floor of the Beis Hamikdash, of the Azara, to be used as a makom hakrava. So, what do we find Rabbi Yehuda's statement relating to what? So actually, it relates back to a point in history where they celebrated this grand celebration when Shlomo HaMelech inaugurated the Beis Hamikdash, and he brought no less than 142,000 karbanos on that day. And because the mizbeach was too small to accommodate all those karbanos, it necessitated sanctioning sanctifying the floor of the Beis Hamikdash for akrava as well. That would be Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, as we're going to see. My Rabbi Yehuda, where do we find Rabbi Yehuda allowing akrava on the floor? The Sanya. We have a pasuk in Melachim Aleph by Shlomo HaMelech. But on that very happy day, on that joyous event, Kidesh HaMelech Teicha Chatzar, the king sanctified, was Mekadesh, the Teicha Chatzar, the floor of the Beis Hamikdash as well, in order to accommodate all those karbanos. Not the dam, as we said, but the akrava of the emurim, etc. Why? Ki mizbeach, and there's a girsa, ki mizbeach, and a choshes lefnei Hashem, the copper mizbeach that was lefnei Hashem, katan meihochel. So the mizbeach was too small to accommodate all the karbanos. Dvarim kiksavan, the words are meant to be understood literally, too small, which necessitated the floor participation as well. Divrei, that's Rabbi Dashit. Amalai Rabbi Yosef basically says, why is it too small? Look, this wasn't the first time we had a huge amount of karbanos. In the past, Shlomo HaMelech brought 1,000 karbanos on that copper mizbeach, which merely had a small, teeny burning surface of an amma by an amma square, because although it was really 5 by 5, back from the Mishkan's time, but there were the corners on the 4 sides, and then there was also a little walkway, which is amma wide for the camel to walk around the internal. So you start with 5 by 5, you chip off an amma on either side, another amma on either side, right? All 4 sides, you end up with just 1 by 1. So imagine a space which is 1 by 1 accommodates 1,000 karbanos. So certainly the mizbeach in the Beis Hamikdash, which was way bigger, which was 20 by 20 amma, which is 400 square feet. Of course, it could accommodate 400 times as much, right? So 400,000 karbanos, and there's only 142,000. Of course, it could accommodate it. There's no need to use the floor. Well, like Karnem, we have the pasuk where Shlomo HaMelech brought 1,000 karbanos on the tini mizbeach. Elaf oilos yasher Shlomo al mizbechahu, and that was on a 1 by 1 space. But when it comes to the mizbeach of the Beis Hamikdash, which was 40 times bigger, 20 by 20 amma, which is 400 square feet. Theoretically, it could accommodate 400,000 karbanos, but it only needed to accommodate 142,000, which is way less proportionally, right? So what do you mean there was short space? The pasuk reads, Bakar Esr Mishnaim Olev, 22,000. Vitzoin, the pasuk continues, Vitzoin Me'ah Esr Olev, 120,000. So it was merely 142 for a space which was 440 times as much as the other Mizbeach. Of course, there was enough space, right? And he explains, when you compare, the proportions, the space, the minyan ames, the area, vis-a-vis the number of oilos, the karbanes, you compare the ratio, the Beis Hamikdash was proportionally much bigger than the small Mizbeach and Achoshes from the Midbar. So of course it could accommodate all the karbanos. So it did not require the floor. So according to Rabbi Yossi, they did not allow karbanos on the floor. Elomau katan mihachal. What then does the pasuk mean? That the Mizbeach was too small to accommodate. We're not talking about the stone, Mizbeach that they built. That was big enough. Actually, it refers back to the copper Mizbeach that they had imported from the Midbar, and they retired it. That's what it means. And it was just a nice, dignified way of saying that it was retired. You say it's too small, meaning it was deactivated, decommissioned. Like, a person would tell his friend, that person, that kohen becomes disqualified for some reason. So without saying it outright, he'll sort of hint to it by saying, well, that person is too short, meaning he's unfit for the avodah. Pliny Nanasu is a short person, apostle avodah, and cannot do that. And he meant to apply that he's apostle without saying it explicitly. So the Mizbeach of Moshe Rabbeinu was too small, meaning it was deactivated. They graduated over to the larger Mizbeach. But in any case, in terms of accommodation, of course, there's plenty space to accommodate all the karbanos. They did not have to use the floor. That's Rabbi Yossi's opinion. However, Rabbi Yehuda disagreed. He said, no, it's too small. They had to use the floor. Why was it too small? But Rabbi Yehuda, what does he do with this, with Rabbi Yossi's presentation? Shaper, come Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi seems to be saying, presenting the numbers accurately. Eliminating any need for floor use. The answer is like this. This really relates back. Let's backtrack to the size. How big was in fact that original Mizbeach in the Midbar? According to Rabbi Yossi, it amounted only to a 1x1 burning space. Hence, proportionally, it was smaller than the current Mizbeach, and of course, the current one could accommodate everything. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, the original copper Mizbeach in the Midbar was actually much bigger. Rabbi Yehuda Tamei the Amar, who says, Rabbi Yehuda is following his opinion. He says, Mizbeach she'asa Moshe gadol haya. In fact, Moshe Rabbeinu's copper Mizbeach in the Midbar was greater, was bigger than just 5x5, which amounted to a 1x1 burning area. Gadol, much bigger than that. He holds it was really 10x10, as we're going to see in a minute. 10x10. So how much is the actual burning area in the middle? Well, you have to deduct one amma on either side for the corners, for the krones, another amma for the kehan to walk around and set up the mizbeach. So you're taking 2 ammas off either side. So you start with 10x10. So you're taking 2 from each side. So it's really 6x6. So the burning area was 6x6. Okay, fine. Now on that 6x6 space, how many karbanos did Shlomo HaMelech bring originally by the on the first occasion? 1,000. So 1,000 karbanos can be accommodated by an area which is 6x6, which is 36 square feet, amis, right? Versus the new mizbeach, which was 20 by 20 amma, burning space, which is 400 square amma. So it's just about 11 times, greater in terms of space. So at most it could accommodate 11 times as much, about 11,000 karbanos. But here you have to accommodate 142,000. That required them to incorporate the floor as well. Okay, that's in a nutshell what's going to happen. So basically, because Rabbi Yehuda considered the Mizbeach of Nechoshes in the midbar be greater in size, bigger in size. So the contrast between that one and the new one wasn't so big, wasn't such a big upgrade. In which case, this one couldn't really accommodate so much more, right? So you needed the floor involved as well. Versus Rabbi Yossi, who holds that the original Mizbeach in the midbar was teeny and could still accommodate so many, 1,000. Certainly this one, which was way more, 40 times the size. Of course, it could accommodate way more than they needed. In which case, they didn't need to use the floor. That's pretty much the structure of today's sugya. Okay, let's go through it step by step. So again, Rabbi Tamir follows his opinion. The Amar who says Mizbeach Moshe Rabbeinu's Mizbeach was bigger than Rabbi Yossi presented. The Sanya, as per the following price: Chamish Amos Oirech, the Chamish Amos Roch. Pasuk describes the copper Mizbeach in the Midbar as being 5 by 5. Rabbi Yossi says literally 5 by 5, leaving just an amma by amma burning space in the middle. Rabbi Daimer, no, he says Avik Shava between the pasuk here, where it says Ravua, Nemerkan Ravua, and elsewhere by Yecheskel, where he describes the Mizbeach of the Bayesheni or the Beis Hamikdash, in the future when Mashiach comes. It also says Ravua, V'nemer Lahal Ravua, and just like over there, where he's describing the Mizbeach being 12 by 12, it doesn't mean 12 by 12, it means 12 on either side, starting from the midpoint, 12 this way, for a total of 24. Malahal, just like over there, the dimensions relate to the midpoint, so it's 12 this way and 12 this way, for a total of 24, so you double it. Afkan, and so you might likewise, the number 5 that's given over here by the Mizbeach Nechoshes doesn't mean in total, from side to side. It means from the midpoint to the right, there's 5, from the midpoint to the left, there's another 5, for a total of 10. And how do we know that over there we're speaking from the midpoint to the sides? This is the Mizbeach and the Beis Hamikdash. So the actual Mokum HaMarocha, where they actually, the surface which was meant for the burning of the Karbonis, Shteim Amma, the Chol Rach, was 12 Amos. And the Gemara explains it means L'chol Ruach in either direction, for a total of 24. How do you know? It means a total of 12 by 12, not 24 by 24. No, Pasuk says to all 4 quarters, all 4 sides. We learn that the measurement begins at the midpoint, so it's 12 to each side, for a total of 24. And likewise, the number 5 attributed to the Mizbeach Nechoshes was starting from the midpoint to the right 5 and midpoint to the left 5, for the total exterior dimension of 10. For Rabbi Yossi, what does Rabbi Yossi do with this Gzeira Shava of Ravua? Ki Gomer Gzeira Shava B'Goyvo de Gomer. He uses the Gzeira Shava regarding the upward dimension, the height of the Mizbeach Nechoshes, a totally different issue. The sign, as we learn in the Bryce, V'sholosh Amos Kamasi, comes another machlekes. Regarding width, Rabbi Yehuda says total of 10, Rabbi Yossi says 5. Regarding height, another machlekes. Sanya, Sholosh Amos Kamasi. The pasuk says it was 3 amos tall. This is the Mizbeach Nechoshes in the Mishkan. Okay, literally, Dvarim Kiksovan. The way it said, that's the way it was. To Rabbi Yehuda, it was 3 amos high. Rabbi Yossi ever no. He says it was 10 amos high. Why? Ne'emar kan Rabuah. We have the word Ravuah over here, describing the Mizbeach Nechoshes in the Midbar. We have the word Ravuah by a different Mizbeach. Rashi says, now we're shifting to Mizbeach HaZohav, the golden Mizbeach, which is meant to be in the Heichel, which was actually very small. It was an amma wide by an amma long, so it was an amma square, and 2 ammas high. Very, very small Mizbeach. So we connect the external Mizbeach Nechoshes to the internal Mizbeach HaZohav. Ne'emar kan Ravuah. V'ne'emar lahal Ravuah. We connect. Ma lahal, just like by the Mizbeach HaZohav HaPnimi, the height was twice as much as its width. It was an amma wide and 2 ammas high. Goiva, its height, pishnai b'ka'arke, twice. It was right. It was double its width or its length. Afkan here as well by the Mizbeach Nechoshes. It was high, double its width. So its width was 5 amas? It was 10 amas high. Afkan b'shnayim urkarka. So we have yet another machlekes in terms of the height dimension of the Mizbeach and HaChoshes. According to Rabbi Yehuda, 3 amas, as the pasuk says. According to Rabbi Yehuda, we have Gzera Shava. The height was double its width. So its width was 5, its height was 10. Amali Rabbi Yehuda, how can you say it was that high? The chutzner and the curtains surrounding were only 5 amas high. According to you, the Mizbeach was even taller than the curtains and the protective curtains. Can you suggest the Kohen was standing on the Mizbeach with the carbon in his hands? Is exposed to the elements, exposed to the public. It's not sneer, it's not respectable. Nobody's peering at him from the outside. The point was to protect him, to give tznius, to give honor to the Avodas HaMikdash. Right? So if the Mizbeach was that high, and the curtains surrounding were just 5 amma high, you haven't really accomplished proper protection. He says, no, actually the curtains around were just as high as necessary. It wasn't just 5 amas high. But like look, the pasuk says that they were taller than just 5 amas. The curtains around the chutzner, and the curtain over the entry to the chutzner, asher al mishkan al mizbech, we connected to the mishkan and mizbech, and just like the mishkan was 10 amas high, mishkan yud amas, af mizbech yud amas. Likewise, the mizbech was 10 amas high. Vaymer, in fact, klaim chamish. The pasuk says klaim chamish yisrei amal akasef. Klaim the curtains on the chutzner were actually in some areas at the gateway to the chutzner 15 amas high. So we have one pasuk which compares the Mishkan to the Mizbeach, and Rashi explains what it means to say, just like the Mishkan, which was 10 amas high, requires that the curtain, the curtains of the materials providing sort of coverage and protection around the courtyard, around the Mishkan, needed to be 10 amas high to sort of cover for the Mishkan, which was 10 amas high. We're assuming that the Mizbeach requires that same type of coverage. The curtains be at least 10 amas high, and even more. The pasuk says 15 amas. And Rashi says we're assuming the whole chutzner was 15 amas high. The curtains around it. So why does the pasuk in the first reference to the chutzner say it was merely 5 amas high? It means to say it was a total of 15 amas tall. But it was 5 amas above the Mizbeach surface. Mizbeach, which was 10 amas high, according to my opinion, required the curtains to cover it properly, and that needed another 5 amas even higher than that, a total of 15. So that's Rabbi Yoshi's opinion. Mizbeach was 10 amas high, and the curtains around it was 15. What do we do with that pasuk? That the Mizbeach was merely 3 amas high, and I say it was 10. The number 3 is not counting from the floor. It's counting from the soivev, which was this ramp, this walkway around the Mizbeach, which was 7 amas up the wall. From there to the top was 3 amas, plus the additional 7 beneath the soivev, a total of 10. Now, all the Rabbi Yehuda did have the same, similar Gzera Shava, Ravua, but he learned it from he connected the Mizbeach and HaChoshes to the pasuk describing the Yecheskel pasuk describing the Mizbeach and the Beis Hamikdash with respect to the width, surface area on the Mizbeach, not the height, as we explained before, right? So although the pasuk speaks about the Mizbeach being 5 by 5, through the Gzera Shava, he surmised that we're speaking about 5 from the midpoint to the right, 5 from the midpoint to the left, for a total of 10 by 10. Ask the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda, how come is Chazikoyin? So bottom line, according to Rabbi Yehuda, the Mizbeach was very wide, 10 by 10, but very short, only 3 amas high. So when the kohen is standing on the mizbeach and doing the avodah, he can be seen past the curtains, which were merely 5 amas high, according to Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, right? Rabbi Yehuda, the kohen is going to be exposed and visible. That's not covered, for the avodah to be done as out in the open. Well, says the Gemara, you're right. To a certain extent, you're right. And he, the kohen mischazi, the kohen himself will be noticed from the outside, but avodah biyad mischazi, the avodah that he's holding in his hand will not be seen. Rashi explains because the mizbeach was merely 3 amas high. The kohen himself, typically a person is about 3 amas high as well, so it's a total of 6. And the klaim, the curtains around, were 5 amas high, so his head sticks out, but actually what he's holding you will not be able to see over the partitions. Okay, so now let's just summarize where we're holding. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, he holds that the ritzpah, the floor, had to be incorporated into the avodah during that Chanukas habayis, Chanukas hamizbeach, that grand celebration, which featured no less than 142,000 karbanis. They had to use the floor as well because the mizbeach, even the new mizbeach, even the brand new 20 by 20 amma mizbeach, which had 400 square footage, 400 square amma on it, wouldn't be enough, wouldn't be sufficient to accommodate all those karbanis. Whereas according to Rabbi Yossi, it could accommodate it, and it wasn't needed. The floor wasn't needed. So Bishlam the Rabbi Yehuda, Hainoch Sev Kiddush. According to Rabbi Yehuda, we understand why he was makadosh the floor. Right? It says Kiddush as Techachotzer because they needed to use the floor as well. There was no room. El Rabbi Yossi, my Kiddush, according to Rabbi Yossi, Mizbeach was perfectly fine to accommodate everything. Why did they have to be makadosh? Lamed Mizbeach. It just means that they were makadosh the Azara to facilitate the presence of the Mizbeach on the Azara. So he was makadosh the area, to give it a title, to give it a shem, to give it a status of the Azara, to make it suitable for placement of the Mizbeach, for building of the Mizbeach on that area. Bishlam the Rabbi Yossi. Next question. According to Rabbi Yossi, when the pasuk says that they had to make they made a new Mizbeach because the copper Mizbeach, the former Mizbeach from the Midbar was too small. Okay, Bishlam Rabbi Yossi. And Yosef Kotten explains that explains why the pasuk calls it small, because it was relative to the new Mizbeach was too small to accommodate all the karbanis of today. Right? Because as we said, it was very small. It was a total of 5 by 5, which really only had a space of 1 by 1. So although, as Rashi explained earlier, it was a miraculous phenomenon that such a small space, you could bring so many karbanis because it was a heavenly fire, a spiritual fire. But now they needed a bigger one. And that explains why they related to it as small. Hainu Sevkat. Allah Rabbi Yehuda, but according to Rabbi Yehuda, who says that actually they were makadosh, the point was they were makadosh the floor because the newly constructed Mizbeach wasn't big enough to accommodate. My cotton. Why are we saying that the Mizbeach and Choshes was too small? If anything, just the opposite. This Mizbeach was too small for today's celebration. Hachigamar means like this. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you explain the pasuk a bit differently. Mizbeach avonim she'osor shloimei tachas Mizbeach and Choshes cotton hava. The issue was with the new Mizbeach, the Mizbeach avonim, the stone, the newly constructed Mizbeach, which was constructed by Shloimei to replace the Mizbeach and Choshes. That was too small, and that necessitated being makadosh the floor as well to accommodate the extra karbanis. So in a nutshell, everybody's submitting to this Gzeira Shava of Ravur Ravur. The question is, where we're connecting it to. But in Mizbeach and Choshes, it says Ravur. According to Rabbi Yehuda, we connect it to the pasuk by Necheskel, which is speaking about an external Mizbeach as well, just as the Mizbeach and Choshes was external, so we're connecting two external Mizbeach. to each other and learning from one another, right? According to Rabbi Yasi, we connect the external Mizbeach and Achoshes to the Mizbeach HaPnimi, the golden Mizbeach, regarding the height. My pligi, what's the machlekes about? Mar Sava Don Chutz Mechutz. Rabbi says we prefer going exterior to exterior, connecting Mizbeach and Achoshes to another external Mizbeach, even though that one is constructed and this one is just a sort of a mobile Mizbeach, but they're closer in nature because they're both external Mizbeach outside of the Heichel. So I prefer going that way and concluding on the dimensions in terms of width and length based on that Gzera Shav. We can't, rather than going to the external Mizbeach and connecting an external with an internal. Umar Savadana Kli Mikli. Rabbi says, no, I prefer going and connecting the Mizbeach and Achoshes, which in effect is a Kli. It's a mobile, entity, and connecting it to another Kli, the Mizbeach Hazah, which likewise is a mobile entity. It was a Kli, it was a vessel, with respect to the height dimensions. Umar Savadana Kli Mikli, and done a Kli Mikli, as opposed to connecting a Mizbeach and Achoshes, which is technically a Kli. So the pasuk by Yecheskel was speaking about a structure, different type of entity, and therefore I prefer this way over that way. So bottom line is like this: we sort of have a succession of disagreements and machlekes, in which sort of leads into this question of whether they were makadesh the ritzpah or not. That's the end result. How do we get there? So again, according to Rabbi Yehuda, Shlomo Melech was makadesh the ritzpah as well, because he needed to bring a huge amount of karbanis on the on the day of Chanukas HaMishah Mizbeach, Chanukas HaBeis HaMikdash, a total of 142,000. And that required the ritzpah as well. Why? Because Mizbeach of Shlomo Melech, the new one, which was 20 by 20 with a square amma footage of 400, was too small to accommodate. Why? Because if we compare it to the ratio of footage versus karbanis, we find in the Mizbeach and Achoshes, which was 10 by 10, but technically the burnage area was only 6 by 6. And that worked with 1,000 karbanis. So here we have 20 by 20, which is 400 square amma, was merely 11 times the size. Wouldn't accommodate 142,000. Okay, and that required the ritzpah as well. But the fact that Mizbeach and Achoshes was 10 by 10, and not merely 5 by 5 as the Psukim seem to indicate, that's because he has a Gzera Shava. Ravo, he prefers to connect Chutz Mechutz, Mizbeach and Achoshes, which was a Chutz, to the Mizbeach and Yecheskel, which was Chutz as well. To tell you, you count from the middle, off to the side, so it's 5 to the right, 5 to the left, a total of 10. How tall was Mizbeach and Achoshes? Merely 3 amma, as the pasuk indicates. How tall were the curtains around the chutzner? Only 5 ammas. Okay, so this sort of leads us to the conclusion that they were makadosh the ritzpah as well. Whereas Rabbi Yasi says, no way, they weren't makadosh the ritzpah, it was unnecessary. Mizbeach of Shlomo, the new one, was ample to accommodate all the karbanis. It was 20 by 20, it was an area of 400 square amma. And compared to the Mizbeach and Achoshes, which according to his opinion was merely 5 by 5 with a burnage area of just 1 by 1, to accommodate 1,000, certainly this could accommodate 142,000. It was actually 400 times the size. According to him, Mizbeach and Achoshes was 5 by 5 and 10 amas high, because he connects through that Gzera Shava Ravu to a Kli Mikli, to the Mizbeach HaPnimi, the golden one, which was 1 by 1 with 2 amma high, so the Goiva, the height was twice as much as the width. And likewise over here, Mizbeach Achoshes, which was 5 by 5, had a height of 10, and according to him, the climb around the area had to provide proper coverage and needed to be much higher, for a total of 15 amas high. Okay, so just in a nutshell, we have this question of the Makam Azara, whether they were Makadosh that. We had a discussion regarding the Mizbeach Shenivgam. So according to Rav, a carbon that was shechted during that time becomes possible, because we need a full, complete, unblemished Mizbeach, based on a pasuk of V'zavachta olav as oilo yisecha v'shlomecha, needs to be shalem and not chaser. According to Rabbi Yechon, we take it a step further, even a live carbon designee becomes disqualified if he experienced this deactivation moment of the Mizbeach. We had a discussion regarding placement of the kiyar, which needed to be between the Mizbeach and the Oil Moed, but not in the way of the Pesach, which the Mizbeach had to face without any obstructions. Turns out we have 3 shittas regarding location of Mizbeach, Darim, Tzafin, or right in the middle. All the best to you and Atzlachah.